Okay, let's start the session. So as I said, if I want to access the methods and variables inside a class, I need to create a main method. From the main method, I need to create an object for the class, and from the class I can able to invoke variables and methods. Okay, so right now I don't have any methods. Let's invoke these variables. Okay, so to invoke the variables, first I need to create a class, student object new dot name. Okay, so let me print this one and copy the same and print it to everywhere. Address, sorry. Okay, so let me give some data here. And just click this to run your class. So there BNG 101. Okay, that's perfect. Now you need to understand few more stuff here. Okay, so what is this package? What is this public? What is this class? And what is this integer? And what is this void? Okay, so which you know looks differently with other data. Okay, so it looks differently in a brown color, it looks differently, right? So these are called even new. Okay, so these are called keywords. These are called keywords. These are predefined from the Java itself. So these are the words which are predefined in the Java. So that's the reason these are called keywords. Okay, so basically when you are defining your syntax, okay, so you will be using either one or two keywords in order to define a method or in order to define a class or in order to define a variable. Okay, so these are the keywords. Let's say to tell student class is a class, okay, we have to define a keyword class, right? To define a variable, to define an integer variable, we need to write a keyword int. To create an object, we need to use new. When you do new only, a object will be created in the memory, otherwise no object will be created in the memory, right? So you'll be using either one or two keywords in order to define something in Java. Okay, so and these keywords are predefined in Java. Okay, we are not going to create something new. These are the existing one and we'll be using them in order to achieve something. Let's while creating in a variable or while instantiating a object, or when you are defining a class, or when you are defining a package. Okay, and not only that, there are many more things we are going to do. Okay, but right now you need to understand these are the keywords. What other keywords are there? There are many keywords. Let me show you that. Yes, these are the different other keywords available in Java. Okay, right now we have seen class and we also see new, and we seen static, package.
Class,
What else we have seen?
class,
Void, Yeah, some of them
int,
we have already
int,
seen, and there are many more which we are going to see slowly in our different classes. Okay, so this integer also we have seen it, right? These are called keywords.
public,
Okay, that's fine. Nothing to know about much here. We just need to know the pre-existing keywords in Java, the pre-existing words in Java. We can simply call it as keywords. That's fine. The second point is identifiers. Okay, identifiers. Okay, what are the identifiers? So identifiers are used to name something. Okay, so this integer variable, this integer variable whose name is id, this string variable whose name is address. Okay, so I'm calling a address is a string variable, right? The name is a string variable here. Okay, so how can I identify this Sudhir here in my code? Okay, by calling the student object dot name, by calling the name, I'm able to access this particular value. Okay, by calling the address, I can able to access the bng value, right? So these names, name, address, id, okay, we call them as identifiers. Okay, how I'm able to identify the values? So by invoking the id. Okay, by invoking the id. Okay, so these are called identifiers. Something you are writing and you are accessing some value. Okay, so those names we can call them as identifiers. Okay, for example, I'm writing a method public void display. Okay, I instead of I'm also displaying. Okay, I'm also displaying some values from the display method. Okay, so to represent this method I have to say it's a display method. Okay, so these names, the method names, the variable names, okay, the object names. Let me write something here. Method names, variable names, and object names. Okay, so these we can call them as identifiers. Okay, when you are writing something and which is going to be your identification, which is going to be identification for those values. Okay, so what is the identification for this Sudhir? It's a name. So what is the identification for Bangalore? It's an address, right? So these method names and variable names and object names we can simply call them as identifiers, and identifiers have certain rules in order to write them. Okay, so I cannot write an identifier. Let's see, let's take another variable int. I cannot write an identifier starting with the number. Now you can see. Now you can see. Syntax error on token one. Delete this token. Okay. So I cannot start an identifier with some special character. Now you can see. Syntax error on token at delete this token. Place cannot be resolved to a type. Something like that, right? So you'll be getting an error. So there are certain rules in defining method names and variable names, in fact a class names, all these names. Okay, method names, variable names, class names, object names. Okay, you need to so you'll be using the identifier concept, and there are certain rules and guidelines when you are defining an identifier, right? Let's see some of the rules here. Identifier must start with a letter, a currency character, or connecting character such as underscore. Okay, it means that you can create an identifier is watch on displays variable. You can create an identifier by specifying the underscore. by specifying the dollar. Okay, and by specifying a normal letter like P or A or something. Okay, so you can create an identifier. Okay, you can create some name, so like this, with dollar, with a character, or with a underscore, but not let's see the other things. Identifier cannot start with a number, we just seen it. After the first character, identifier can contain any combination of letters, currency characters, connecting characters, or numbers. There's nothing but. So once you start a identifier with some character or some dollar character or with some underscore, okay, so in between you can have these numbers, okay, and you can have these dollars, and you can have this underscore also. Okay, there is nothing wrong. That's what this particular point is about. There is no limit to the number of characters an identifier can contain. Okay, so there is no limit. You can write a identifier with 5 characters or 500 characters. There is no limit. Okay, so in this identifier you can use 5 characters to define your name, or 500 characters. There is no limit. That's what it's telling. And you cannot use a Java keyword as an identifier. This is very, very important. This is very, very important. I used to see people often use the Java keywords to write an identifier, to write some variable declaration or object declaration. They used to write the keyword as a identifier. This is not allowed in Java. You cannot use a Java keyword as an identifier. For example, so class is a keyword. Okay, now you can see I am referring this value 10 by using the name class. Okay, this identifier is a keyword. Okay, now you can see syntax around token class invalid variable declaration. Okay, you should not use keywords to write the identifier. For example, static is a keyword and public is a keyword. Okay, if I write something like this, it will work. Okay, so the reason is it's no more public keyword. This is very, very important. Identifiers in Java are case sensitive. Foo and foo are two different identifiers. A legal identifier for a variable is also a legal identifier for a method or a class. Okay. So till now we are working with the identifiers only on variable. Okay. So the same rules will be applicable for the methods and classes. That's what it is telling. So let's see some of the examples here. Okay. Now, okay, if I write there int 12 name, int okay, okay. Now this is first one, this is second one, this is third one, this is fourth one. Let's start giving your input, which is valid and which is invalid. The first one, please give your answer. Is this valid or invalid? Declaring a variable name with starting with number. First one, valid or invalid? Valid or invalid, the first one. Okay, what about the second one? The reason is it starts with a number, that's the reason it's a invalid. What is the second one answer? Please go ahead fast. Second one, it starts with a special character. It starts with a special character. A identifier has to be start with num A identifier has to be start with dollar underscore or a normal character. It's a special character. It's a invalid. What about third one? It started with dollar. Third is valid. That's excellent. What about fourth one? What about fourth one? Yes, exactly. You're right. Fourth one is a keyword. It's a invalid. Keywords cannot be used in identifiers. Now that's fine. So we know package, public, class, int, and new, static, void are keywords. That's well and good. Okay, let's talk about and we also know how to create an identifier. Identifiers are basically used to refer some data. Okay, or used to refer a method name, used to refer a method or a variable or a object. Okay, so in order to identifying something, we'll be using the identifiers. Variable names, method names, object names are called as identifiers also, and there are certain rules and guidelines in order to write the identifier, and that's one we just gone through. And one more small thing is the keywords we have done, identifiers we have done, and brief introduction to the access modifiers. Okay, so if I don't write it as a public, still it works. If I don't write, you know, a public here, still it works. Okay, what is the use of public here, and what it is a public? So public are called access modifiers. Public is called as a access modifier. There are multiple access modifiers. One is public, private, default, protected. Okay, and right now we are using the one is public, and these access modifiers defines the scope, who can use this method, who can access this method. Okay, you can define access modifiers to the variables and the methods. Now who can access this place? Okay, access modifiers are public, private, protected, default, and these access modifiers are used to define the scope is nothing but who can access this variable or this method. Okay, so we'll going forward we are going to talk about all these different access modifiers, how to use, where to use, when to use. Okay, but right now you just understand so what is this public, so that while creating few different examples, few different classes, you should not bother about what is this public. Okay, so that's the reason I just given a brief introduction now, and in our later classes I'll be explaining all those things very clearly. Okay, so that's about access modifiers. And